3 races, 2 poles, 2 wins, and 3 fastest laps. And a 2nd place for good measure. Charles Leclerc is now sitting comfortably at the top of the Formula 1 World Drivers' Championship with 71 points. The last time someone had that many points after 3 races was Nico Rosberg in 2016, who obviously went on to win the title. And the last time someone had that many points and didn't win the title was never. Okay, that's a little disingenuous, different point system now, more races this season than before, etc, etc. And also, in 2017, Vettel had 68 points after 3 races, and he obviously didn't win the title then. He was also leading after 3 races in 2018. Feels bad, man. In 2021, Hamilton was leading at this point with 69 points, and he obviously... Yeah, you know what happened then. All of this is to say it's not impossible that someone else catches up and wins the title, but in each of those years, the gap to 2nd place at this stage in the championship was much, much closer. This year, Charles Leclerc is well clear of the top of the table. And so, the question we need to answer today is, can anyone challenge Charles Leclerc for the 2022 Formula 1 World Drivers' Championship? That's a lot of words. To answer that, we need to take a look at our different challengers. To be precise, there are 3 groups, let's say. The Mercedes boys, the Red Bull boys, and Senor Carlos Sainz.
The Mercedes boys.
A big story this season so far has obviously been, what happened to Mercedes? They've been on top for so long. Surely it was going to last forever, right? Right? Good teams stay good forever, don't they? Well, despite Mercedes not having the number 1 car anymore, I think there is still some chance that their 2 drivers can catch Leclerc and challenge for the title. Firstly, it's Hamilton and Russell. If you refer back to my driver pairings ranked video, they're alright. Sadly for these 2 though, it's not really a question of driver talent at this point. It's much more a question of engineering talent. I will say though, I don't think Mercedes' technical fall from grace is quite as extreme as some people make it out to be. Their car seems to have good pace in low speed corners and is mostly just held back by crazy drag caused by a pretty extreme porpoising issue on the straights, seemingly maybe the worst on the grid. Mercedes have not been helped by the fact that our first 3 races this year have all been pretty high speed tracks, where any issue with your top speed is going to make itself known. But not every track is like that. I think there's a good chance we could see the silver cars doing well around the slower speed corners of Imola and Monaco coming up in the next few rounds, and so we could see them bringing in some pretty sizable points for the team. Maybe enough to knock the Monaco boy off his spot? Also worth noting, Leclerc, not a great record in Monaco, so that should be interesting this year. On top of this, remember that Mercedes' setup for their car is likely compromised by this porpoising issue. It means they're probably running their cars higher than they would like them, or stiffer than they would like them, or with less wing than they would like them. Just in general, in a way that they don't like them. If they have good low speed corner pace now, and they're still a top 3 team, imagine, let's say, what could happen if they fix this porpoising issue, gain back their straight line speed, and also then are able to set up their cars in a more optimal way. They could get back to being a pretty scary team out on track. Also, an F1 season is long, and none more than this one, which means there's a lot of time for teams to improve their car while there's still races to be raced. Now, don't forget Ferrari is also developing their car, and there's a chance they may just develop it better than everyone else and completely run away with the championship. There's actually quite a strong chance of that, I would say, but we are today exploring other possibilities. Considering all of this, overall I would give Mercedes a C+ on their chances of overthrowing Leclerc. Yeah, I didn't mention we're doing like a grading system. It makes sense. C+. It's okay. Let's see what happens down the line. Who's next?
The Red Bull boys.
Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen. Mainly Max, but let's not count out Perez at this stage. He's a good driver, man. Is he a Max level driver? Next question. The same as Mercedes, the main question here is, can Red Bull's car compete with Ferrari's? If we look at Bahrain and Jeddah on pace, yes. Australia, however, was a bit of a different story, with Leclerc out ahead and pulling further ahead even before Verstappen's DNF. As mentioned before, we've had 3 relatively high-speed races that Red Bull have been competitive in, but it does seem their main advantage over Ferrari is their straight-line speed, and not much else. I'm not saying they have a bad car, I'm just saying that in every other way, Ferrari have a better car. There are another couple of races coming up soon that should benefit Red Bull. Miami looks like it's going to be pretty top speed dependent, Baku as well, but apart from that, they are going to need some changes coming from Milton Keynes if they want to stay at the front. And then, of course, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the elephant in Red Bull's powertrain. If there was actually an elephant, that would explain quite a lot. Not the point. Perez already has 1 DNF this season, and Verstappen has 2. Last year, Verstappen only had 3 for the entire season. 2 of those obviously were crashes, and 1 was a tyre blowout, so actually 0 mechanical failures. But based on all of that, he only won the title in the last race of the season. And that's because 3 DNFs is high for a top team in modern Formula 1. In previous years, we typically see the champion has 1 or even 0 DNFs for the entire season, because those points are critical. Reliability wins championships. And that's not even mentioning the psychological momentum swing that you get from not scoring races, from having points stripped away from you from something that's not even your fault from a driver's perspective. You have to imagine, not a happy way to end a Sunday. Now, it's possible that Red Bull have no more retirements for the rest of the season and both their drivers continue to score strong points. But is it likely? I don't think so. I think there's a good chance another Red Bull might go up in smoke before the end of this season. And honestly, at that point, I don't know if these drivers can recover from that many points lost. All this being said, I give the Red Bull boys a B or a B- for their chances this season. Better than Mercedes, for sure. But they do have to watch their backs. And also stop blowing up.
Carlos Sainz.
This case, unlike the others, is basically all a question of mentality rather than engineering. That's not to say that there's no technical side to it, because while 2 teammates are in the same car, obviously physically it's 2 different cars, and so one can have a mechanical issue when the other doesn't. And also, different things happen to the 2 different drivers. Sainz got pretty screwed up by red flags in the qualifying in Australia, and then before the race he was complaining about a steering wheel issue, which doesn't help. Does it cause you to yeet your way across turn 10? Probably not. Probably not a great excuse for that. I would recommend not doing that, but it doesn't help. It also doesn't change the fact that Leclerc beat Sainz in Bahrain and Jeddah as well. Just saying it like it is, man. Now, if Sainz hadn't yeeted himself on the first lap in Australia, he probably would have finished the race 3rd or even 2nd given the pace of his Ferrari, which would mean he would have 51 points at this point, and the Drivers' Championship would look like this. Not too terrible at all for Mr. Sainz. But the fact of the matter is, he did yeet himself, and so it doesn't. Is he too far below Leclerc to make a challenge for the title though? Not at all. Those of you who watched my driver pairings video will know that I spoke pretty highly of Sainz in that, and I even went as far as to say that I thought he could beat Leclerc if the 2 of them went head to head in a championship battle. Since then though, Sainz has done his hardest to make me look like an idiot. Sainz, man, what are you doing? This is my reputation, bro. Stop crashing. However, I do still think this. Sainz is, normally, a very consistent, very methodical driver. Not the kind of guy to make crazy moves up the inside, the kind of driver instead who will stick on you, breathing down your neck for the entire race, waiting for you and, in a way, forcing you to make a mistake, at which point he just breezes past. Is this a style that could beat Leclerc? Yes. Yes, it is. The pair does actually give me vibes of the Prost-Senna rivalry. 2 wildly different drivers, one considered by many to be the greatest driver of all time, and yet, in the 2 seasons they were teammates, the other outscored them, using consistency and racecraft. Not as sexy as being quick, but it is effective. You don't have to be faster than someone in a race, you just have to finish ahead of them. And those are two very different things. Now, a comparison with Prost is high praise for someone who still hasn't won a race, but I do think the seeds are there for that kind of driver if Sainz and Ferrari are willing to water them. And that brings me to my final point. Do Ferrari want Sainz to win? Leclerc has been a Ferrari junior driver since 2016 and the Ferrari driver since 2019. Sainz, on the other hand, is just this guy who joined in 2020 and before that was part of the Red Bull Driver Academy. Now, I'm not saying that Ferrari are a fiercely loyal, traditional team who would put all of their effort into a poster boy lead driver, but actually, yes, I am saying that. That is exactly what Ferrari would do. It's not hard to imagine that within Ferrari, the plan has always been Leclerc number 1, Sainz number 2. And particularly after the start of the season, with Leclerc already ahead in the championship, it's not too hard to imagine some team orders coming down the radio. This, obviously, wouldn't help Sainz's chances if he wanted to take the title, and so he is going to need to be extra clinical if he wants to start raking in wins. The Bottas 2.0 that Bottas never was, if you were. Overall, I would give Sainz an A- or a B+ chance of taking down his teammate. The best chance on this list, but unlike the others, he has to race Leclerc on the track and in the boardroom? I don't know how that would work, actually. Okay, the metaphor doesn't work, but it won't be easy. You get the gist. So, there we have it. All the drivers with the best chances of taking down Leclerc for the title, or at the very least, putting up a close title fight for us to enjoy down the line. Let me know what you guys think down below. Will anyone challenge for the title, or has Leclerc already won after 3 races? As always, like this video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. Stay safe, and I will see you guys later.